Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. Got my cute little $2 Target find that says Adventure is Calling. I love it. We've been drinking this, it's gonna sound really weird. We've been drinking this cotton candy flavored coffee from Bones Coffee, and it's really good and really strange. If that intrigues you at all, check it out. So today's video is going to be the mid-year book freakout tag. I really like doing this tag. I think it's a lot of fun, and to hear everybody's answers and to see like how everybody's coming along so far this year, even though thinking about being mid-year is a little terrifying. But here we go. All right, so let's just get into this tag. So question number 1 is the best book you've read so far this year. And for me, I was kind of thinking about this for a while, and this book popped up, but then I thought maybe it's not. And then I just kept kind of thinking about it and decided that the best book I've read so far this year is All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. I really, really loved this book. I think it's very underrated. I think more people need to be talking about this. I haven't really heard anybody talk about it. That doesn't mean nobody is, but I just feel like for how good this book was, it needs a lot more attention. And the sequel for this duology is coming out in August, so it's getting closer, and I can't wait to finish this duology this year. So this is a Hunger Games-esque story with magic. It involves a killing tournament, and there are 7 families, and each blood moon, which comes around every few years, one of the family members, the children, are chosen to compete in this killing tournament, and the winner gets high magic for their families to use the rest of the time until the next blood moon rises. So it's a huge deal, and it's a vicious book. They've been training for this like their whole lives in different ways, whether they're studying or have magic or whatever. And this was such a cool story. I loved reading it. So this was definitely the best book so far. And I read this in January. Question number 2 is the best sequel you've read so far. And for me, that would have to be A Rogue of One's Own by E.B. Dunmore. I love this series, and this is the 2nd book in the series, and I was able to finish the books that have released so far this year. And this is so good. I absolutely fell in love with this book and the characters, and it was just such a good time. It was funny, it was serious, it brought up so many good points. I just loved it a lot. If you like historical fiction, historical romance, but are looking for more of a feminist twist, I would highly recommend this book. It is so, so good. I laughed. I don't think I cried, because I don't really do that, but I may have teared up if the content was going towards a lot more towards women's rights and like the things that women go through. Sometimes I get kind of passionate about that, so it can bring out those things in you. I just had such good feelings about this book, and I love it so much. So if you do like those types of stories, I would highly recommend read it. If you don't usually gravitate towards those stories, I would still recommend picking these up because they're really fun. Question number 3 is the best new release book you've read so far in 2022. I feel like this is a little bit of a tie, so I'd probably say off the cuff the best new release I've read this year is Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this, and I don't think this was as hyped or below as people thought it was going to be, but I really like it. It's very, if you like Caraval, I think you will like this book. It's about 2 sisters that basically want to go visit Hotel Magnifique, and they want to be guests, but it's really expensive to be a guest, so they think maybe they can work there, and they just want to spend one night there. And they end up getting the opportunity to do so, but when they're signing their contracts, they figure out that maybe the magic surrounding this and the people involved may have you signing off way more than you intend to give. And I just thought it was a really fun book. It was very sinister, I would say more sinister than Caraval, and kind of took some twists and turns that I didn't expect. And I just really liked it. This is also a standalone, which is really cool and unique. So I really liked this. Another new release I really liked this year was Gallant by Be Schwab. This is following Olivia Pryor, and she goes to this house called Gallant because she received a letter from her uncle saying that she should come, and she was living in an orphanage. But when she gets there, nobody actually sent the letter, and she starts seeing some creepy stuff and finds a gate to like the opposite world. So it's like the same house, but in an opposite shadowland. This was such a good book, and V.E. Schwab, I feel like, can do no wrong at this point. Question number 4 is what's a new release in 2022 that you haven't gotten to yet but really want to read? And I was gonna say For the Throne for this, but I'm currently like halfway through that, so I can't say that one because I am reading it. But I have 2 others that I really need to read. One of them is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This was a pre-order of mine that I pre-ordered months and months ago. and was very excited to get it and read it, but I just haven't gotten to it yet, and I plan on doing this next month, actually. A little bit of a spoiler for my TBR. But this was on my radar for a while because it just sounded so hilarious and great, and so I really need to get to this. You're basically following a princess who's trying to save her sister and herself from an abusive prince, and she finds a witch that can help her and give her the things she needs to defeat him, but she has to complete these seemingly impossible tasks. And in order to do that, she has like a ragtag team of people coming beside her to help her, including a demon-possessed chicken. You tell me that doesn't sound amazing. That's why I want to read this. So that's the first one. Another one that's very intriguing to me, and I don't know how I'll feel about it once I read it, but I really want to read it, is Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro. I don't really know how to say his name, but I'll have it up on the screen, obviously. This book sounds very vague and very interesting. It's basically following children that have powers or abilities. I don't know if they're magical powers or if it's more like superhero-esque, but they're called monsters, and so I feel like it's kind of like an X-Men thing where they're viewed as wrong or evil, and it's set in England, and kind of all I know about it, but I just remember being very intrigued by it, and I do want to listen to this on Audible, and I do have it, so hopefully I can get to it soon. Question number 5 is most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. So many. So I feel like most of the ones that I've really been looking forward to are the second half of the year. So The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber, Kingdom of the Feared by Carrie Maniscalco, Demon in the Wood by Leigh Bardugo. That graphic novel is gonna be my ride or die, I can tell. Cursed by Marissa Meyer, which is the second her duology. I could probably add a few more to that, but I'll just kind of leave it at that because those are very anticipated releases from some of my favorite authors. And the graphic novel about the Darkling, I can't wait to have my hands on it. Question number 6 is the biggest book disappointment of 2022 so far. I don't like this question because it makes me sad. The biggest, I would say I could probably say a couple, but I'm just gonna say one. And that would be As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is the 3rd book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I absolutely loved the first book. I really liked the second book, and then this book just took a turn, and it just went in a direction that I don't think it should have gone, for the characters, for the story, and I really didn't like it. It was just kind of a letdown for me, and disappointing is the best word for it. I was very disappointed in that book, unfortunately. I think if she started writing other things though, I would definitely give it a shot, but that one was a disappointing end to a series. And I finished it on like New Year's Day, so I started off the year great. Question number 7 is the most surprising book of 2022 so far. And for this one, again, I had to think for a second because I know there's been a couple, and sometimes a lot of things will pop into my mind, but I need to like narrow it down to one or a couple. And so I did narrow this one down to 2 for different reasons. So the first one that really caught me by surprise was actually Gallant again by B. Schwab, because I had this a little bit on my radar. I knew she was coming out with a book, but I wasn't, from when I read the synopsis or something, I just wasn't that interested in it, and I wasn't even gonna get it or even plan on reading it necessarily. But the closer it got to time, I said, well, maybe I would like it. I do really like B. Schwab usually. And then it was on Scribd, and so I was like, oh my gosh, it's on Scribd. I'll go ahead and listen to it. It's a new release. Why not? I can put up my thoughts. And I really liked it, and it really caught me off guard because I did not think I would enjoy this book as much as I did, and so that was a big surprise. The other really surprising book was A Court of Dragons by Frost K. I bought this because it had dragons in the title, and I knew it was kind of a story about dragons, and I thought I would enjoy it. I thought it would be fun, but I didn't think I would like it as much as I did. And I had also actually heard other people talking about it and saying they didn't really like it, and so I was like, oh man, I might not like it either. But it really caught me off guard, like how much I liked it, how much I kept thinking about it and wanted to pick it up and keep reading it. And I believe the next installment in this series is coming out in November, and so I'm definitely gonna get it because I really liked it, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I just thought it was really good, and I wasn't necessarily expecting it to be really good, so this was definitely a big surprise. Question number 8 is newest fictional crush. At first, when I was planning this and reading this question, I was like, I don't have any, but I actually do. And the more I thought about it, the more kept coming to mind. So I would say the first one would be Sebastian Ballantyne from A Rogue of One's Own. I really loved him. He was funny, he was a rake, he was my type of character, and I really like him. Another one would be Calden from The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni. You see him a little bit in The Prison Healer, but he has a bigger role in this book, and he's like my favorite of the series. He's so funny and amazing, and he's like a war general and hilarious and a playboy and just amazing. I love him. His personality is fantastic. He's just the best. I love him so much. Another one would be Abraxas from Fireheart by Emma Hamm. He is a dragon shifter, but he's like a big, bad, powerful, protective, angry dragon that is also a cinnamon roll. He's precious. I love him. Another one I really love, even though I do not like this series so far, is Manon Ormanon from Throne of Glass. I'll just put character art of her up here. I should probably do that for all of them. She is just iconic. Like, look at her. She's just amazing. Kind of want to look like her, kind of don't want to terrify people, kind of do. I just think she's a really cool character. She's a witch at part of one of these, like, bloodlines of witches. And she has a dragon, and she's just super cool and BA and awesome. Another crush I could probably throw in there is Des from the Bargainer series by Laura Thalassa. I like him. He's kind of like a Rhysand character, so probably him too. Question number 9 is a book that made you cry. I don't really ever cry in movies or when I'm reading, especially fiction. If it's fictional, I'm not going to be crying. But I would say the book that caused me the most emotional pain so far this year would probably be The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni, just because you're building up to a betrayal for the whole book, and it's painful and it hurts, even though you know it's going to come, even though it's been building the whole time. It was painful. And so I would say this one caused me the most emotional pain so far. Congratulations, Lynette Noni. There was a couple that were painful, like there was some painful moments in Fireheart, Court of Dragons. Also, The Last Graduate had a moment of just like pain because it was such a big cliffhanger, but continuing on. Question number 10 is a book that made you happy. For me, I would have to say Fireheart by Emma Hamm. I already mentioned this already in this video, but Abraxas, the shape-shifting dragon. He's such a precious little cinnamon roll dragon that is also a monster and could destroy you, but has like such a good heart. And reading about him and like burrowing into his little pile of gold and him watching over some things and caring about creatures, it was just so precious and I really liked it. So this book made me happy, even though there's a lot of elements of this book that are not happy. So I would have to say this one. And question number 11 is the most beautiful book you've bought or received. And so far this year, I would probably say Daughter of the Moon Goddess, the Fairy Loot edition by Sue Lynn Tan. The cover is really beautiful. The foiling is perfect and the edges are like unparalleled. So I'd have to say this one, even though I'm sure it's other people's most beautiful book as well. It's just kind of on another level of its beauty. So I think you have to say this one. I have talked about this one saying it was like the most beautiful book I've ever seen though, and I do really like The Cartographers by Pink Shepherd. The UK Goldsboro edition with these sprayed edges is absolutely beautiful because I love maps so much. And the last question is question 12, and it is what books do you need to read before the end of 2022? So many, I could rattle so many off. The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber, Kingdom of the Feared by Carrie Maniscalco, Cursed by Marissa Meyer, Blood Traitor by Lynette Noni, These Twisted Bonds by Lexi Ryan, All of Our Demise by Amanda Foody and Christine Lane Herman, Demon in the Wood by Leigh Bardugo. So many. I mean, I could go on for forever, but I would say those are probably the top ones. And I always want to read more, but I would say those for now. All right, everyone. Well, that was it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed this mid-year book freakout tag. If you want to tell me, I would love to hear your answers to these questions down below in the comments. I really like doing this tag and kind of reflecting on the books that I've read so far this year. It brought up some more memories of the books that I've like read in January that I've kind of put on the back burner for now. So it's just really fun. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.